Dissidia.
Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Zalits, and finally our tier list has been fixed up and reworked after the whole summer shenanigans that has taken place over the last few weeks, and things are as lively as ever. I have to say that many of the characters that were once bottom of the barrel, literally just guttered trash characters, have finally risen up from the grave to be given their proper spotlight and room to shine. For a written explanation of my changes and more in-depth analysis on the given characters that I'm about to show you guys, check out my DFFOO forum post. I'll leave a link in the description down below to the write-up, and if you haven't checked out the DFFOO forums in general, you should, because it's where I hang out and there's a lot of useful information slash guides slash videos, etc. that can help you you know, with things that you might need help with in this game. And we've even got a live chat room where we all hang out, so feel free to come on down and just chill with us and do some co-op with us, because we're always hanging out, we're always looking for people to play with. So anyways, let me tell you guys about how I conducted these tests, because I know some of you will be wondering how and why some of these characters suddenly shot up the ranks. So here's what I did. I made each and every test that I performed for each character have controlled buffers, because as we all know, Sazh now has a 35 CP, so he is literally the best buffer in the game. However, the second best buffer in the game is Ashe. Yes, rejoice, because Ashe has finally returned stronger than ever because of Sazh. So basically, these two buffers I use them as a control for each and every test, and with them as the control, I performed many tests and observations on each and every character of our roster. So it's like, because of them, like, I was able to see each character at their peak performance to get the highest value out of them possible. Okay, so with that being said, let's actually get on into looking at what has changed from this tier list between then and now.
But it's gonna be blue skies for you. Step out of the shadows and walk into the light. Yeah, it's gonna be blue skies for you and I.
Okay, so now that we're here, let me go ahead and I'm gonna try and shorten all this so it's not as overbearing as possible, or I'm gonna try and make it not as overbearing for you guys to have to sit through. So I'm gonna try and give you guys short and concise reasons for what has changed and what characters, or why characters are where they are. But anyways, let's go ahead and start with the SS tier. What has changed in SS tier? Well, first of all, I have promoted Tidus to SS tier. Reasons being that because now that Sazh is beyond SS tier. Okay, Sazh is literally the reason why everything happens. So as you can see, I put him as a background. Okay, that's just to show that Sazh is pretty much our Lord and Savior. But anyways, the reason that Tidus is in SS tier right now is because he no longer has low max bravery issues anymore. So what that ends up meaning is that because he doesn't have that issue, he's able to do all the damage that he wants, like, as quickly as possible. Like, he's one of the fastest damage dealers in the game right now. He not only does that, but he has debuffs. Like, we already know this. We already know what Tidus does. We've had him for a long time now. But because of the fact that Sazh gives him access to more damage, more max bravery, and crit, he just does an absolute... He does so much damage. It's unbelievable. So he's absolutely amazing now. Beyond that, we have demoted Lightning and Aerith, and I will get into them here in a second once we reach S tier. But so far, those were the three changes that happened in SS tier. Tidus pretty much just he's so much more effective now. He's absolutely phenomenal when you pair him up with Sazh and Ashe. So let's move on to S tier. All right, so let's talk about why we demoted Lightning here. Okay, so Lightning was demoted mostly because, and I know some of you will probably be saying like, oh, but that's not fair, but it is fair. Okay, Lightning cannot work with the two best buffers in the game. Okay, because of the fact that she puts a bravery regen on herself, it doesn't allow her to actually work with Ashe and Sazh for maximum damage potential. Okay, and then the worst part about it is as well is that even when she works with, even though she can work with Sazh, because the buffs are so similar, because the attack buff that she gives herself with her Spark Strike is so similar to Sazh's, the amount of damage increase she gets is very minimal. She doesn't really get that much benefit from Sazh. So overall, she ends up just looking very similar to the way she already did previously before Sazh's 35 CP was even introduced into the game. So, you know, she's not bad, and this is the reason why I kept her in S tier. She's not the worst. She's not the worst character. She's still really good. But then, you know, when you take into account that she's very fast and she takes a lot of turns, and if she's not just getting she's not getting very much benefit from the buffs, and it's just not very good. Like characters like Tidus who benefited the most from both of these characters, Ashe and Sazh. You know, characters like him that can actually max out consistently, that can actually do top of the line damage. Those are characters that you're going to be wanting to bring along with you to deal as much damage as possible in a short amount of time. So that is the reason why I demoted Lightning. She does not work with the two best buffers in the game, and even with the best buffs in the game, she's still not as strong as some of the other characters in the game. So moving on to Aerith. Why did we demote Aerith? Well, it's not that she's bad or anything like that. It's just the fact that even with Sazh's buffs, her regen is just, or her bravery battery potential is just not as strong as it. I don't want to say as strong as it was, because it's still good. You know what I mean? She's still a strong battery. But when it comes to characters like Eiko, who get like an extremely strong benefit from having that attack boost from Sazh, Aerith just doesn't work well with her. Like, she still gives a lot of bravery, but it's not to the point of Eiko where it's like she can just cap out. She can just cap people out instantly with, you know, like a 9,000 smite, regardless of what it is. Like, well, I don't want to say regardless of what it is, but like, you know, if you have a strong Eiko, like she can cap your team out very, very easily. But Aerith, she still suffers from, you know, giving that small amount of burst bravery regen to your, not regen, but, you know, battery to your team. So for that reason, I had to remove her from SS tier, because not only are bravery batteries being removed slowly because of Sazh's buffs, but we just don't need, like, she pretty much just takes up a slot that you could be using for another damage dealer, because let's be honest, like, a lot of the damage dealers we have right now can cap themselves very easily without the need of a battery. So unless you're capping out bravery for everybody instantly, like, you're not gonna be top of the line. Okay, so that's the reason why I moved Aerith down. Not because she's bad or anything like that. She's still very strong. She's still a very good unit to bring along, especially if you're doing lost chapters and whatever. But she just doesn't give that. She just doesn't take that extra leap to SS tier anymore because of Sazh's buffs. She's still strong, but just not there anymore. All right, so again, let's talk about Ashe. Why did I push Ashe to S tier now? Well, because of Sazh's buffs, she is now, like, she's basically an enabler now. She's always been an enabler. Like, you know, she's always been a character that has been able to enable, you know, certain characters to do an absurd amount of damage because of her buffs. But now, because she works so well with Sazh, because she can give physical and magic damage buff to characters alongside of Sazh's phenomenal buffs, she not only does an absurd amount of damage herself. It still takes her 2 turns to deal, like, you know, maximum damage, but because of the fact that she can still do that and buff and give, you know, the second hand-in-hand buffs to Sazh, you know, it's just amazing. Like, these two are just 2 phenomenal buffers together, and they pretty much push every other character, well, pretty much almost every character that isn't ranged, to their limits and makes them just crazy strong. Okay, if you haven't tried out this duo, if you haven't tried out Sazh and Ashe together, like on some of these characters, try it yourself. I encourage you guys to try this yourself. Their duo is absolutely amazing, and they buff characters to new extremes. All right, so that's pretty much why she's moved up to S tier from A tier. And Seymour. Okay, Seymour has been moved up again to S tier. I know I moved him back in the previous tier list video, but there's a very good reason for this, and it's because Seymour is really strong. Again, because of Sazh and Ashe, because he has the magic buff, because he has Sazh's, you know, crazy buffs. Seymour can literally cap himself with almost everything that he does. His Lance of Atrophy can literally hit for up to like 3,500 a hit, which easily caps him if you have any kind of initial bravery or anything like that. If you use his what is that, the chain spell, it literally does like 5,000 or more damage depending on how good your artifacts are. He just caps himself so easily, so fast. He's become a powerhouse again. Okay, so that's and of course he also has debuffs similar to Tidus. However, I think Tidus, I prefer Tidus over Seymour, and that's the reason why I put Tidus at SS tier, because I feel like Tidus has better flow than Seymour. So Seymour is, his debuffs are strong as well, but I just don't think that he's as he doesn't flow as well as Tidus does when it comes to battle situations. Like, he's just not as fast or anything like that. So that's the reason why I kept him in, or pushed him up to S tier again. He's still very strong. He's still very good. If you have him, try the team out yourself. Seymour, Sazh, and Ashe. You'll be surprised by how powerful he is. Okay. So next on the list is Vanille. Shocker, right? You know, everybody is always talking trash about Vanille, but Vanille is absolutely crazy on AoE fights. Not just AoE either. I take that back. It's a single target, she's okay, but when it comes to AoE, like maybe 2 targets, 3, even 3 targets. If you have 3 targets, forget about it. She's a god. She's amazing. Okay, but the reason why I have her in S tier is because if you're facing a single target, she's not as amazing as other batteries such as Aerith or Echo. But when it comes to multiple targets, she's absolutely crazy. Okay, so because of the way that her dispel works, where it hits everything on the field, okay, it's based off of her attack. So Sazh giving her an extra 60% attack only makes that like triple the amount of damage that she's actually gonna do. And then with Ashe's buff to magic attack, it makes her debuff or her dispel hit super hard. So all the damage that she does to the enemies is multiplied to an extreme amount, and that's not taken into consideration if you're putting up Deep Protect on everything as well. If you hit a target with Deep Protect, it goes up even higher. I think the most, with a decently artifacted out Vanille, I think the most bravery that I got on a return was about 11,500, and that was outside of summons or anything like that. That was literally just start the battle, bang, with 3 enemies, just 11,500 to everybody, caps everybody out instantly. And then, you know, that number pretty much dwindles down as you have less and less targets on the field. But even then, it's still a ridiculous amount. And previous to this, previously, like, I always, you know, I didn't really think anything of Vanille. But after seeing her in a new light with these 2 buffers, she's actually really strong. And if you don't believe me, try it out yourselves. I encourage you to try out all these characters, guys. They are absolutely crazy. Vanille's one of them. She's very good. Very good debuffer, very good battery. I hands down agree that she becomes stronger as time goes on. But anyways, that's the reason why I moved her up to S tier. From, I think she was before this, I think she was B tier. So just imagine, she's very strong. She's that strong. I have that much confidence in her ability. All right, so next up is Thancred, our boy. All right, Thancred. Now, Thancred, he's kind of special case. Okay, so if you can land the poison, all this is what's important. You have to land the poison, but you know, he has his 35 CP and whatnot, so he's able to get that off pretty often. Well, not pretty often. He can pretty much almost land it every time, but it's, you know, you might have that one time where it doesn't go off when you want it to. But anyways, with Ashe's physical attack buff and with Sazh's buffs, Thancred's attacks are just absolutely crazy. He can cap himself pretty much with this juggler wasp or whatever it's called. Can cap himself with that. His Shadow Fang pretty much does about like 7,500 to 8,000 bravery damage altogether. He does a phenomenal amount of damage when he has everything going for him. Of course, this is only with the 2 best buffers in the game. This is like I said, all these characters are based on running this team comp of Sazh and Ashe together. So keep that in mind. All right, so that's the reason why Thancred has been moved up to S tier. He's very strong now, especially with his team comp. I mean, this is with these team comps alone. You know, like if I tested them alone without these buffers, I just don't feel like it would be fair to the tier list, because we have these resources available to us, so we should be using them. And these are pretty much characters that I feel should always be used. You know, Ashe and Sazh should always be used, unless you're using some kind of ranged character like Kayn or something like that. But you know, even then, still want to bring along Sazh or Ashe, especially if you're using a magic damage dealer, or a physical attacker. All right, so that's the reason why Thancred has been moved up to S tier. So next up is Lion. So Lion is pretty much the same exact reason as Thancred. Like pretty much these last few for S tier are pretty much exactly like Thancred. Lion, I keep looking at her every time, and I always say this: Lion keeps increasing as time goes on. The more things happen, the better she seems to get. Okay. The reason why I keep saying this is because with Lion, with Ashe and Sazh buff, okay, both of her abilities will literally hit for 9999 damage, regardless of what the enemy has on them, regardless if they have defense down, regardless if they have whatever. You know, if you have the right artifacts, anyways. If you have good artifacts, she will hit that hard. And it just so happens that the line that I was using was one of the better lines that I've seen on global at the moment. So thanks to that person, I was able to get the best results from Lion, and she's absolutely amazing. She hits like a truck, okay? And not only that, but she has some really good debuffs as well. So do not think of her as being weak anymore, guys. Just because she doesn't have a Bravery plus HP attack does not mean that she is weak. She hits very hard, guys. Very hard. Next up is Terra. Yes, surprisingly, Terra. Yes. She has not gotten her quality of life buffs yet, but she has a lot of max bravery, okay? With Sazh and Ashe's mag buff, she can pretty much reliably always max or cap out her bravery, so long as she uses her meteor, her mighty meteor, or whatever it's called. So as long as she uses meteor, her meteor should always cap her out regardless of what she's doing. So that's the reason why she has been moved up. She's very strong. She does a lot of damage, and she also provides some debuffs that are very good for your team, like defense down, and she can also I think she also reduces speed, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember exactly if it was speed or if it was. I'm pretty sure. I know defense is one of them, but I'm not sure speed was another one. But anyways, moving on. Prish has not moved. Onto Kayn. Okay, so here's Kayn. We just got him a few days ago, and Kayn, he's very strong. He's absolutely amazing. He's an absolutely amazing attacker. However, the reason that I did not put him into SS tier is because I do not feel like he is strong enough to be put there. He has a lot of tools at his disposal for damage dealing. Maybe it's just because I haven't done enough testing for him, but I mean, that obviously I have not done enough testing because he just came out. But with the testing that I did do, he did not seem to be strong enough to fit into SS tier. He doesn't provide any debuffs or anything like that, so he's just straight up raw damage. But even then, his damage doesn't seem to be anywhere near what the SS tier can do or what they're capable of. On his own, he's still very strong, but with the buffers that are available and debuffers, he's just not up to. I don't want to say he's not up to par, but he's just not there yet. And I probably need to do more research, not research, but more testing on that. And he'll probably change come the next time around when we do another tier list update. But anyways, that is why Kayn has been moved around. Okay. Now, the other things that have changed here, I demoted Garnet, I demoted Edgar, and I demoted Sarah, and I demoted Cecil. Okay, so, and I will talk about them again here in just a moment when I reach A tier. So we're in A tier. Doesn't take long to get there, huh? But no. So here's what happens here. Okay, so the reason why I demoted Cecil, well, Cecil has just been falling slowly, so, you know, like as time goes on. He kind of just got killed off by Cloud because Cloud got his 35 CP, the Rune Blade, and you know, Cecil he just doesn't have his Valiant Blow HP attack yet, so he's just not strong enough to be S tier anymore. He's still a good launcher. Don't get me wrong, like he's still good for launching, but it's just not as good as Cloud. Even with the buffs that Sazh gives and whatnot, it's still his damage just isn't there anymore. you might many people would just agree that why bring Cecil when you can just bring Cloud. And I agree with them. Like, I agree with that statement. Like, you know, Cloud is just a better unit overall. He has a bravery plus HP attack. He has paralysis. He has so many more things that Cecil doesn't have. So, and plus Cecil's kind of like, you know, his whole liability with the, like, you know, low having to use HP to do his abilities. That's just not good overall. But that's the reason why I put Cecil into A tier. He's just slowly been declining as time goes on because, you know, better characters are being released, and, you know, other characters are getting their buffs with their weapons and whatnot. But Cloud pretty much is what did him in. So, and moving on to Edgar, this one is pretty simple because even with Saz's buffs and Ashe's buffs, like we already know that Edgar was pretty weak. He hit like a wet noodle if it wasn't on, you know, machines or anything like that. So even with their buffs, he was still hitting like moderately hard with his abilities, but it just wasn't enough to make him S tier. He still provides a really good defense down debuff, so if you have his 35 CP and you have these characters to work with, definitely, you know, try him out. He's still very strong, but he's just not as strong as the other S tier or SS tier units. Unfortunately, I had to move him down to A tier, but he's still very good, you know, as an AoE damage dealer and an AoE or a single target debuffer. Moving on to Laguna, I actually promoted him to A tier as well. He was one of those characters that kind of surprised me, kind of similar to Vanille. Even though he doesn't have his 35 CP, he's still very strong, especially on AoE fights. For the simple fact that he's very similar to Tidus in the fact that he debuffs, you know, speed, attack, and defense for your team, or for the enemies. So he's pretty much just an AoE Tidus. And once he gets his 35 CP, he's actually going to become so strong. It's unbelievable. Like, he's already doing this much damage now. I can only imagine once he gets his 35 CP. So that's the reason why I moved him up. Try him out for yourselves, guys. He's still very good. If you don't have a debuffer, if you're still looking, if you need somebody that can debuff and you have his 15 CP, try him out. He's very good. Very good right now. Next on the list is Bartz. Bartz was moved up because of the fact that he is actually really strong now with Saz's and Ashe's physical attack buff. He can cap himself very easily, and he can shave a lot more bravery now with his missile. And once he's fully mastered both abilities, he also provides some very, very useful passive buffs to your team that increase, I think it's like attack, defense, max bravery, and, you know, so on and so forth. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but, you know, he has some very, very good passive buffs that he gives to the team once he masters both abilities. So that's the reason why I moved him up. And also, surprise, surprise, guess who's next? Ida. Ida, another low class damage dealer, has also moved up thanks to Sazh and Ashe's combo of, you know, buffing. Ida has went from being a bottom of the barrel trash 35 CP character to one of the higher ones on the list. She can actually deal a lot of damage now with her poison claw ability thing. I don't remember the exact name of it, but with that ability, she can get her bravery up very, very high, and then she can cap herself with her bravery plus HP attack that she has. And she also has a lot of ability uses. Like, she's actually very, very good now with the two buffers, and she's just very strong overall. Very, very good now. Next on the list is Ferris, and Ferris has been she's actually been pretty good for a while. I just didn't have, because she didn't have a bravery plus HP attack, I never wanted to raise her up higher. But overall, she's very good now, especially with Sazh and Ashe's buffs. Like, you know, she's always been a good debuffer, and now she just does an absurd amount of damage with the two buffs, so that she can cap herself a lot easier. She doesn't need a battery. She doesn't need anything like that. Once she masters her abilities, she does an absolutely amazing amount of damage. So check her out. And if you haven't noticed, it's kind of a trend. Like, a lot of these characters have been moved up mostly because of Ashe and Sazh. Their combination have made these characters absolutely crazy. They're so strong now. So moving on to Setzer, who I promoted to A tier as well. He isn't anything overpowered, okay? He's not like any of the other characters where they just, you know, do an absurd amount of damage or they cap out very, very easily. Like, no, Setzer is up here because he has, you know, because of all the things that he can do, okay? He still does a lot of damage now that he has Saz's buff and all that stuff. So he can cap himself fairly easily now. He also has his freeze ability that freezes enemies' bravery, which allows the team overall to just get more bravery. You know, the Sazh, Setzer, and whoever, because, you know, because Ashe doesn't work with Ashe can work with Setzer, but it's only on his freeze ability. But you know, you can swap her out for somebody else if you so please, because Setzer was one of those characters that he has, you know, his ranged attack and he has his magic ability to freeze. So it's up to you how you choose to form that team comp. But he's not absurdly overpowered, but he provides some things that are very, very good for your team, which is what makes him A tier at the moment, and he's very, very good. Like I said before previously, Setzer is always going to be team oriented because he just doesn't do a lot of damage by himself. So having Sazh there as a buffer to make him stronger is always going to be a benefit for him as well. And bringing along a battery, it wouldn't be a bad thing for him either. But you know, batteries aren't really needed. If you want to bring a battery, you can, but you don't have to. Moving on down the list, we are on to Steiner now. Steiner, however you pronounce his name. This guy has surprised me with the amount of damage that he actually does now with the two buffers, Ashe and Sazh. His spell blade actually caps out so quickly. It does so much damage, guys. Like his one attack, it doesn't have to be on humanoids either. It was on, you know, like on anything, on pretty much anything. You use spell blade, it'll cap him out instantly. He does so much damage now. His power break also does a lot of damage. It's not as strong as his spell blade, but it is very, very strong nonetheless. And plus, it's a bravery plus HP attack, so you can't really go wrong there. It's nowhere. I don't want to say it's nowhere near the level of like Thancred's, like, you know, Shadow Blade. However, it is still very, very powerful nonetheless. And Steiner has become very, very strong as a result of being buffed by these two together. And moving on, I moved Onion Knight up as well for the simple fact that he takes benefits from everything. He can take advantage of everything that you give to him. All of Sazh's buffs and all of Ashe's buffs are usable by him. So he's able to use his magic abilities. He's able to use his physical abilities. He's absolutely amazing. He's really good now, especially with his 35 CP. So definitely try him out. He's very, very good now, guys, especially with this combination. He can cap himself out super quickly. No need for multiple uses to cap him out. Try him out. He's very strong. And then moving on to Zidane. Zidane is pretty much in the same situation as Onion Knight here. So because of the fact that he has Sazh and Ashe's buffs, the physical and attack buffs, he's able to cap himself out very, very, very quickly, very easily as well with his Stellar Circle 5. And there's no real overlapping on or overcapping with his abilities now. So he's actually very, very good. Like, because of that fact, he doesn't overcap. He doesn't do too much damage now. He's able to just restack cap and be just fine. And then I also got a comment on my tier list saying that, you know, it's kind of weird because Zidane buffs himself and he also debuffs, which is another reason why he's very good. He can debuff defense and speed and buff himself with defense and speed as well. But the issue is that the issue that was brought up to me was, wouldn't it be counterintuitive because he would just push off the buffs that they give to him anyways? However, my counter argument to that is, you don't really have to use free energy with the way that his Stellar Circle 5, with how hard his Stellar Circle 5 hits now. The only time you're probably going to be using free energy is maybe during a summon, but even then, like, he's going to be hitting so hard that he can just cap with the Stellar Circle and just HP attack. You probably start the match off with a free energy just to get the defense down buff up, and then you would just continue your rotations, and he's going to cap out easily. No need for rebuffing or anything like that until much later on in the fights. So keep that in mind, guys. He's very good, especially now. No need to worry about buffs or anything like that. He's very good. Trust me. And moving on to Garnet, who I also demoted to A tier. She suffers from Lightning's debilitating, the reason that Lightning was debilitated as well in this whole situation. And it's the fact that she also provides too many buffs for herself, so she does not work well with the duo buffers. And it's unfortunate because she's actually a decently strong mage. And had she been able to work well with Sazh and Ashe, she would have been extremely powerful. Okay. Her best ability, which is Aquamarine Glint, puts up a Bravery Regen buff, and it pushes off any chance that she has of working with Ashe and Sazh together, because it just continues to push off either attack or magic buff, and it's just very unfortunate. But that is the reason why she was demoted to A tier. She's still good, but she's she missed out on that opportunity because of that buff. Like she could have been way stronger if she was able to use both buffers to their full potential. Moving on, we have 7, who I also promoted, and you know I had to do this because of the simple fact that he's very similar to Edgar in the sense that, you know, he obviously is only good for ghosts, but he still hits very hard, and he has an AoE as well. So I feel like Edgar and 7 are pretty much the exact same character, except they have different elements and, you know, different things that they're good against. But even then, he's still just as strong as Edgar is, just for different just with different enemy typings and, you know, elemental typings that they have themselves. Like Edgar doesn't have any elemental typings, but, you know, Edgar has like arrow and light or something like that. So, you know, he's still very good. I just didn't give him enough credit. But now with Sazh and Ashe's buffs, he's actually become very strong. So try him out. He's very good. Next up is Cyan, and Cyan, you know, he's just been slowly climbing up. He's actually pretty good now with the physical attack up and Sazh's buffs. He's not amazingly god tier, but he's still he can still cap himself very easily with his abilities. So that's the reason why I pushed him up there. It still takes him, you know, a few turns to get to that whole damage rotation, but, you know, once he gets there, he actually does a lot of damage, and that's the reason why I pushed him up to A tier. Next up is Oren, and a lot of people would probably say that he shouldn't be here, but I disagree, because this guy hits like a truck. This guy is a monster. But of course, just like before, I couldn't put him any higher. I kind of wanted to put him in S tier, but because I thought about it and I was like, you know, because of his physical damage resist down debuff being left to chance, it severely ruins his chances of ever being S tier, and that's the reason why I have him in A tier. Maybe in the future, when he gets something, maybe he'll get something that changes that, or he'll get better. But for right now, he has to stay in A tier just because of that simple fact. If not, he would definitely be S tier, because with that debuff, oh, he can cap out anything. He can cap out with everything, and he does a ridiculous amount of damage, and he also has some really good debuffs. So that is the reason why I moved Oren up to A tier. And last on our A tier list to talk about here is Shantaro. Now, the reason that she is A tier is she surprised me with the amount of damage that she can do. I had to test her out during this event, because, you know, her 35 CP just came out, and using Sazh and Ashe with her, because she can benefit from, you know, both of them at the same, or from both of them, from both their buffs. Her not only does she do a lot of damage with her main abilities, with her arrow and bio abilities, but when she goes into her rage mode, she can pretty much cap during summons, during normal stuff, and during summons as well. So she's actually very strong. Of course, she is limited to the fact that she doesn't have a bravery plus HP attack. So the earliest you're going to be seeing an HP attack come out from her is on turn 2, or on her second turn of doing abilities and whatnot. So, you know, she's very good. She's very good, but she's not S tier or anything like that. She's still very good though. I feel like she deserved that A tier placement from where she was at before. She's definitely no longer the garbage, you know, character that she used to be. And the final adjustment to A tier was the fact that Ramza was demoted, and that one I'll be talking about this one in just a moment here. But going forward from this list downward, I'm going to be very brief about B and lower, because I feel like these are kind of self-explanatory, and I'll be talking about I'll only be really talking about the characters that I feel like were kind of controversial, and I'll be talking about them here in a second. So the reason why I demoted Ramza to B tier is because, well, he's pretty much just a more garbage Sazh now. Sazh completely outshined him entirely, and I don't think that we'll be seeing Ramza again for a very long time. Even when he gets his 60 enhancements, I don't think Ramza is going to be used that much, simply because Sazh is just a better Ramza. Ramza just isn't that good anymore. And that's pretty much why I don't see Ramza, or I moved Ramza down. He's just completely outshined by Sazh completely. So moving on, I demoted Sarah to B. Why did I demote Sarah to B tier? Unfortunately, she is just not strong enough of a battery to keep her any higher than B tier right now. And the fact that, you know, her only real benefit to bringing along before was the fact that she gave a pretty strong max bravery buff to the team. Again, that also completely gets outshined by Sazh, and the fact that, you know, she just doesn't work well with, you know, Sazh at all, or Ashe. You know, it just doesn't work out at all in her favor. In the future, she'll probably come back, but I won't see. I doubt we'll be seeing a lot of Sarah for a while to come here. Galuf got moved up to B tier because he got his 35 CP, and he's also recently gotten, you know, his some quality of life buffs that made him a little bit better. But overall, he's pretty much on the same level as every other tank on this list. They're all, I put all tanks at B tier because they're good, but they're just not damage dealers. And this, you know, pretty much in the state of the game right now, it's where damage dealers are on top of their game because of Sazh and Ashe making them become so strong. So moving on, I promoted Irvine to B tier simply because with Sazh's buffs, he can do a little bit more damage. He still sucks, don't get me wrong, but he's definitely better than what he was previously because of those buffs. He still can clear stuff pretty quickly if you're farming. So that is the reason why Irvine was moved up to B tier. I promoted Warrior of Light to B tier pretty much for the exact same reason that I did Galuf. All tanks are pretty much equal at this point. The only I mean, Warrior of Light is probably the only one who can double taunt right now. So it's he kind of has an advantage over like Celeste and Warrior of Light, or Celeste and Snow, because they can only do single target taunts right now. But he can actually slide in with his buckler throw and get 2 taunts in before they can. So he's still pretty much you know, with them on an equivalent level. They're all B tier, so I'm not really going to talk too much about the tanks right now. I promoted Furion to B tier. He just does a bit more damage now. He also has a Bravery plus HP attack, but he's still nothing really special. He still does you know, a mediocre amount of damage, but you know, Furion is Furion. He's not going to be strong. He doesn't have his 35 CP yet, so what else can I say about him? I promoted Kata to B tier because just like everybody else that's over here in B tier, I had her in C tier because of the fact that she just wasn't that strong, but she can actually cap herself now fairly easily, but she's still not very good just because of her kit. Her kit's just not that good anymore. Or well, not that it was not anymore. Her kit's just not that good in general. Because of the fact that she just has dodge, but she's not a tank or anything like that, so that's like whatever. She's okay now. She can cap herself. She can do some damage, but she's not the best, but she's not the worst either. So moving on, we have Zell, who moved up to B tier as well. Zell has always hit kind of hard, and with Saz's buff and Ashe's buff, he can actually still hit very, very hard, surprisingly, for a character who only has his 15 CP. However, I feel like he'll be much, much better once he gets his 35 CP, so that's one to look out for. We'll just have to wait and see how much stronger he can get. But I definitely feel like he's B tier quality, even though it takes him like 2 turns or 1 turn, or yeah, 2 turns to get his whole damage rotation going. Next up is Yang, and I moved him up to B tier simply for the fact that he can cleave stuff down pretty quickly with his kick ability. With Sazh and Ashe's buff, he actually does a lot of damage now. Not extremely high amount of damage, but you know, he does a good amount of damage to everything now. Of course, he doesn't have his 35 CP either, just like Zell. So he's another character that we'll have to watch out for, because he'll become very powerful once that time does come. And last in this category of B tier, I have added Celeste because she's another tank that we have gotten recently. She's actually very good. She's actually a very good tank. She has a taunt. She absorbs magic damage. And she has a Bravery plus HP attack. So you can't go wrong with any of that stuff. If I had to compare her to anybody, I would say that she's pretty much the magic version of Snow. If Snow is the physical tanker, she is the magic tanker. And they're pretty much polar opposites of each other. However, she is pretty much exactly the same as pretty much every other tank in this list. They're all B tier. Again, like I said, they don't do very much damage. They're not damage dealers. They're tanks. They're good for what they do, and that's pretty much it. All right. And then Celeste was the last character, but from B tier as well, I have demoted Yuna to C tier. In C tier, I mean Waka, I'll just save time here. Waka, Vivi, King, these three pretty much just got because of Sazh's buffs, they became stronger, but they're not super strong. So they've been buffed up, or they've been moved up to C tier. That's pretty much the only reason why. Vanille, I have not moved her. Yuna, the reason why I moved Yuna to C tier is because of the fact that even though she is a battery, and she's not a bad battery by any means, but she doesn't do enough battery healing, she doesn't do enough damage to warrant her being any higher than C tier right now. Maybe when she gets her 35 CP, she'll be better, but for right now, she's just not that good at all. So that is the reason why she has been moved down to C tier. She can't cap anybody. She can't. She doesn't give that much bravery back, and she does no damage. So she's pretty much bringing you down if you choose to use her with Sazh. It's just not a good combination. And then for the last two, I'll save time here too. Tifa and Edge are pretty much exactly the same as the situation with Waka and Waka, Vivi, and King, where, you know, Sazh buff and Ashe buffs have pretty much made them rise up and do not too much more damage, but you know, they're where they should be. They do a lot of damage. We still don't have the 35 CPs either, so you know, hopefully in the future they'll become better, but you know, for right now they're just still pretty low. Their damage is nothing exceptional and like that, but they do much more damage than they did before. In D tier, I have buffed up, or I promoted Shadow. Shadow moved up because of Sazh's buffs, but you know, he's still not that much better. Alright, that's going to do it here for this tier list video update, guys. I'm sorry it took so long for this one to finally get up. It's just that I implemented a lot of new ideas, like showing those clips of the characters doing their testing, or during their testing. I only did SS and S tiers because I figured that that's probably what most of you guys would probably want to see anyways. So I figured I'd test the waters, and if you guys like those, then maybe in the future I could start adding other tiers clips of their testing as well. But I want to get your feedback on that, because that would also take a really long time for me to do. So let me know if you guys like that idea. And making that short intro also took me forever to make as well. All that little micro movement, it takes so long to make those, guys. But I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'd love to hear your feedback on what you thought and what you'd like to see added in the future, perhaps. Next up, I'll be posting my Kane story event playthrough, so be on the lookout for that, guys. And yeah, until next time, bye, guys.